Well, here goes another night of selling my soul to the cookout gods. What's up, guys? So in today's video, I'll be talking about how I compose my own star trail images, walking you through that process from start to finish, from going out in the field and capturing photos to taking them into Photoshop and creating a composite image. I'll go over the gear I use, and hopefully you guys can go out and do the same. All you need is a camera, a tripod, hopefully a wide-angle lens, but that's not necessary, an intervalometer, or if your camera has a built-in intervalometer, that works just as well, and a clear night where there are no clouds in the sky. So I'll start with the gear I use. So for this particular shot, I used the Sony a7R IV with the 24mm f1.4 G Master lens. What's great about this lens is the wide open aperture. So when I'm shooting at 1.4, the lens lets in an enormous amount of light. And I can of course stop it down if I need to. But the Sony a7R IV is great because it provides a 61 megapixel resolution, so every detail will be visible for better or for worse. You're also going to want a very sturdy tripod. The more windy it is, the more sturdy of a tripod you'll want. To best capture star pictures, you need your camera to be completely still and steady for the entire duration that you are taking the image. Set your camera up on the tripod, find the composition that you want. Usually it's best to go out in daytime to scout the composition while you can see. Otherwise you'll be looking around at night. You want to set up your camera, and the next piece of gear you'll need is an intervalometer. So some cameras like the Sony have a built-in intervalometer, and all an intervalometer does is tells the camera when to take a picture, how often to take a picture, how many pictures to take, the space to leave in between pictures. So this is an external intervalometer, and it plugs into the camera via the Sony multi-port. So as you can see at the top, there's a self-timer, a long exposure feature, the interval, the number, and then the beep that you can turn on and off. The self-timer feature, all that does is when you set the self-timer length and then press start, the intervalometer will wait this long to take the first image. The second option is long exposure, and that will determine how long your shutter is open for, so long that your camera is in bulb mode. If you scroll past the 30-second exposure time, you'll get to bulb mode, which leaves the shutter open for as long as you hold down the shutter release, or if you have an intervalometer attached to the camera, for as long as the intervalometer says to keep it open. The next setting on the intervalometer is the interval, and that's how long you have in between pictures. Generally, you want to keep this low, around 1 to 2 seconds, leaving the camera time to process the image and record it to the SD card before it starts taking the next image. And the last setting is the number of images. In conjunction with how long your exposures are and your interval in between shots, the number of exposures will largely determine how long you'll be out shooting for. I have a time lapse set up for 64 4-minute exposures at f1.4 ISO 400. I've left my camera there. I hope it's there when I get back. That would be fantastic. At Cookout now, my go-to order is a cheddar style burger with Wisconsin cheese bites and a cheese quesadilla and a banana berry milkshake. Yes, these are the nutrients a photographer needs. So I'm on my way back to get my camera. It has been 3 hours. It is 3 a.m. I hope my camera is there, not frozen, and still on, because if it's not, that would really suck. Yeah, I'm cutting it off a little early. I have it set to run for 4 hours and 26 minutes, but I'm cutting it at about 3 hours. It's because I'm tired and I want to go to sleep. For this image, I'll be using the star stacking method, which means rather than leaving the shutter open for 2 hours to capture the image, I will instead take a series of still long exposures but shorter exposures and then compile them into a composite image in Photoshop after the fact. Alright, so once you have your images recorded from your shoot, you take them onto your computer, put them on a hard drive, and then you open Photoshop. The star stacking method that I use is as follows. In Photoshop, you first click File, scroll down to Scripts, and then Load Files into Stack. And then a menu will pop up, Load Layers. You'll click Browse, and you'll identify the images that you want to take. So I took my images in RAW, uncompressed, and I've already ingested them into Lightroom, color corrected, and exported as JPEGs. It's a lot easier for Photoshop to import photos as JPEGs rather than RAW files, just because of the size. So then you'll select all of the images you want to import and click Open. In this series, I took 42 images. I cut it early from the 4-hour exposure to about 3 hours. And then click OK, and Photoshop will then import each photo as a separate layer in one composition. Alright, so Photoshop has now imported all of the photos as separate layers in a single composition. And the next step is to select all of the layers, and then you want to change the blending mode from normal to lighten. And this is generally what these stacked star trails will look like. So then what I did is I took each layer that had light spilling on the foreground from my car headlights and layer masked that light out. In this image, I thought it would look better if the foreground was darker. And I think the result turned out really well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching once again. If you have any suggestions of future videos or any questions on this process, if you want me to go into more detail on any specific part, please leave me a comment down below. And if you did like this video, please like it, and if you want to see more, do subscribe. See you next time.